Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to episode 17 of Flips, Flaps, and Folds. Yesterday we created this, or a version of this. I ended up making several of them because I was having fun with it. And they're all a little bit different, but they're all essentially the same. It's a tri-fold with a pocket. I'm sorry, not a pocket, a tuck on one side to hold a journaling card, or maybe a double, and then a flip up with some lined paper and tracing paper. And like I said, I ended up making 3 of these, and they're all a little bit different, but they're all essentially the same thing. There's a flap to hold it closed, a flap for a tuck or a pocket, and space for journaling cards, and then a window with a flip and some tracing paper. Now, Jibid Neri, I've mentioned her before, she's phenomenal. A lot of times she'll sew straight lines on this so you have journaling lines on there, and that's something I would also enjoy doing. But for the sake of these, I did not, because I'm trying to keep them as thin as possible. And so I use the same type of closure. You can see different papers, different looks, but essentially the same thing. And then here's the one I had as an example, which has, the journaling card, the pocket, or the tuck without another pocket on top, and then this was sorry about that, this was a half page flip, but all essentially the same. Well, I made one, I'd had one in my supply bin, and I did it again, same principle, washi here on the edges. This was a little bit bigger scrap, so I just did 2 brads on it. This has a double tuck pocket, or a tuck with a journaling card, and oh, see, if you're like me and you don't like to have your writing stick out, I just put it on the back and then tucked it in, and that's my how-to. And then a journaling card I made with just a little bit of embellishments and some Braille paper, and again the flip up and the journaling page. So they're all essentially the same, just a slightly bit different. Now you have the option with these to glue it into your book, which is what I did, and I did not make a tuck or what have you, or a belly band, because my book is getting so fat. But you absolutely could. If you chose to glue it down, you could make it open at the top, or open at the top and bottom for a belly band or a tuck. You could also leave them loose and just paper clip them in, because the back is fine, and you could put a pocket on the back if you like. I found that it's essentially the same thing. I made this a long time ago, maybe even 2 years ago, and it's essentially the same idea. It's got a flap closure. It's a tri-fold. You open it up, and on this side, rather than having a tuck spot, I put a fold-over tuck, full-size tuck, with some vellum pockets on the front and a couple of tags for journaling, and then a space for an envelope back here. And then I've got my notepad. This one we didn't have a notepad, we had journaling space, but the flip up, but it's essentially the same idea. And then I've got, just some extra pieces. This is probably, a little card, a writing card, and this, well, just one of those little envelopes with some writing space, pull out and write on it, kind of a deal, a little notepad. Not even a notepad, it's just a little note with a bit of a tuck. Must have used the entire sheet of paper or something. And then this, I'll have to save this for tags. It's a tag flipped over, so it's a double tag with a tuck spot in the side, and then a pocket in the front. So there's a vellum journaling spot, a little tag, and then on the back, same thing. There's just a vellum journaling spot. So I'll have to remember that and save that. But my whole point in showing this was, this is obviously designed to be oriented this way with the notepad here, but it's the same concept. So you can take what we did yesterday and really personalize it based on what you want or what you need. And just by changing the orientation, I've taken it from a side tuck to a front back tuck. And like I said, this one has a pocket on the back, so this would be loose and maybe not in a journal because of the thickness, but you can use it as a gift. A lot of options with this, which is why I'm showing it. All right, today's actual flip, flap, and fold is brought to you by Tracy Fox. I first saw these little scrap busters, which are just notepads with varying sizes of paper, as a way to get rid of some of your scraps. This is different sides as a cascading one. This is just a little notepad with offcuts. But there's notepads that go inside your journal, and again, a way to use up scraps. I had this one that I had made for my scrapbook idea book, and this one sits over the top of the page, and I'm butchering it here. It sits over the top of the page, and it sits flat because of the hinge. And on the front side is just your scrapbook paper, and then the back, I put a tuck spot with a tag. So you've got something on either side, and then it's held in place by this little paper clip. But this is essentially the same thing. Instead of going over the top, it's going over the side. It's still got a notepad with your paper. I'll pull this over here, a notepad with paper, right? And on the back side, there's a pocket. Whoops, sorry about that. A pocket or a tuck. But it does the same thing. One's just over the top and one's over the edge. So the concept is identical. It's just orientation's a little bit different based on what you want. So what I did is I'd made this one a long time ago when I was making it with Tracy's video, which I will try to link in the description box below. But if I blow it, it'll be the first comment in the comment section because I blew it last time I tried to put a link in. So you've got the option of doing an over the top with, you know, pockets back here, or an over the edge. So same thing, just a little bit different orientation. Picking up on this idea, same concept, just a different orientation. And so I'm going to show you how to make this one, and I'll do them both hopefully very quickly. All right, enough talking, let's get to work. First thing I did was I just grabbed a bunch of scraps out of my scrap bin. Literally no joke. And I made sure that when I grabbed them, I had one that I had a long piece of cardstock for my back, and I'll show you now. This was a scrap of one that I'd used earlier, and this is my, I don't know, second or third take on this because I talked too much again. So I've already scored it, but basically what I did is I just folded it over, scored it at the top, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. Maybe even up to an inch, you get to pick. And I'm going to ink this simply because once I sew it in place. Now, to put the papers in, I just grabbed a bunch of varying sizes of scraps. And I made sure none of them were wider than the width. And this one happens to be, what, 4 inches? So none of them, they're all different lengths. I've got, what, a receipt, piece of map, some vellum, book page, all just kinds of scraps. Coffee-dyed paper, coffee-dyed tracing paper, a variety of everything. I line them up, or mostly line them up, and I thought this scrap was kind of fun, so maybe I'll put this on over here. I line them up, or mostly, and make sure that they fit, and they do. And then what I'll do is I'll take my purple tape and hold them together loosely. Obviously, this isn't a perfect tight hold, but it's close enough. And then I will put them in here. Now, where this crease or fold is, I do not want my paper to rest against that. I want it to come up just a smidge, maybe even just 1/8 of an inch or something. And the reason I want that is this is what's going to allow it to lie flat over the top of my page. So this is the top page piece, right? I want to make sure that it lies flat. And the way I can get it to do that is by not putting it all the way down to the bottom. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. But when I lay this in, I am going to, okay, sorry, this one little piece is wonky and it's not cooperating, so I'm going to just cut that off. And this is the top. You're not going to see it. It'll be sewn in. All right. It's not playing nicely. There we go. Okay. And I'll lay it in here, and instead of putting it all the way down, I'll lift it up just a little bit. And then I usually put a dot of glue or something to hold it in place while I sew it. And then I would sew it in right here. Okay, so that when this is in my book, it's going to sit flat right over the top of the page. You can also staple it if you want to, or you can hand sew it. But the idea is it's going to be sewn to this section, not the back, so that it flips up and over. All right, so this is going to be one side of the page. And then the other side, I was originally going to cut this off and put pockets on, but I thought, well, gosh, it's longer than I need. I can just, well, let's see, let's flip it over like that so that it's in the right direction. So this would be the back side, and I flipped up this. I could take a divot, and there's my pocket. I'd glue or sew right here and here, and then I've got a space to tuck in a tag or some tags and some room for decorating on the fronts. So that's the front and back side of my page. That's all there is to it. Over the edge is the same thing, but slightly different. I chose to glue mine in my book. So this front and the back flap did not have to be the same size because it's going to be glued in and it's not going to show. The scraps that I had for this section were about 3 inches, so I only needed 3 inches, and I believe this was 8 by 8. So I scored it at 3 inches, and I made sure that the pieces I was going to put in were going to fit there. Yep, they look like they're going to fit just fine. Make sure that's up there. And I do this one a little bit differently. I cut a slit at the top. Again, it's about that 1/2 inch, maybe between a 1/2 inch and an inch. And I cut it so that when this is around my book, here, let's use this. When it's around my book, the front and back sides don't have to be the same. Because this is its own page, it's going to be sewn in, and you're not going to see it because it's a single page, not this big old thick pad. But I can decorate the front, do whatever I want. This is all my journaling space on my page, and then I've got little tearaways that I can use on this page or on any page in the book for whatever I want to use it for, further decorating or writing or notes or what have you. So I'm going to sew right along here, and then this will flip up. All right. And then the other side, I can do anything I want. I can put a piece of vellum here and make this pockets. I can glue this down and make 2 or 3 pockets here like I did in the sample I showed you. So this front and back piece don't need to be the same size to get the same cool effect. And that literally is all there is to it. I'll pull my sample back up so you can see again. In fact, I found this one in my little, my scrap pile. I'd obviously been intending to make one there. You can do it the same size, and then you can tuck it in just like this into your book, or you can do it over the top and back of a page, just like I did in my sample. And again, that sample is right here. See? So it's the same thing. I just hucked it over the edge of the page so that the notebook is here and this is there. And that's all there is to it. It's a simple fold. And again, I'll try to remember to link Tracy's video, or I'll put it in the comment section if I'm not able to link it. Hope that gave you an idea and a way to use up some of your scraps. And I'm hoping this weekend that I'm going to have a scrap buster section, a scrap buster video. My scrap bin is getting too full, and I have several different ways that I'm happy to share with how I use up my scraps. All right. Thank you. Take care and have a great day.